As we established on chapter 5, and reviewed even on the previous lesson, we said that heat is moving from a hot object to a cold object until that thermal equilibrium, meaning that the same temperature between the objects is reached. Now, in the Canadian winters, which are very harsh and very um, temperatures go deep into -20, -30, and sometimes even -40, heat leaks through windows, doors, walls, and roofs in our home. Therefore, what we need to have to keep this heat into the house to our best ability, what we do is we use proper insulation. So let's take a look at this. What is the like what is the insulation? Any material, any material that insulate or prevent the transmission of the heat and of the cold, it's called insulator. The main function of the insulators is to keep the heat inside the house or to not allow the heat to come into the house. So even when we are using air conditioning in those few days that it's very hot here in Calgary, then what we do is we close the windows and we black out the windows so the heat from the outside is not coming into our home. And the air conditioning is giving the whole home a quite nice temperature. But during the winter, but a proper insulation is not allowing the heat that is produced into our home to keep us warm to escape into from our home into the outside environment. To know about the heat and a proper insulation is very important, especially in the cold and long winters that we have here in Canada. So what we have to keep in mind is that the ways that the heat is escaping from our home is through windows, through doors, through chimney, through roof, and yeah, those are the main areas that the heat is lost. Therefore, and through walls. Yeah. Therefore, what we have to do is we have to have a good understanding that the uh, good insulation of our home will save heat, therefore will save money in our bill. The way that we are measuring uh, the degree in which a material will be insulating is through that is known as the R value. You probably have seen it if you have been to Canadian Tire and you have seen some of the insulators that we put into the wall that they have an R value. The R value is the higher the R value, the better insulator it is. So if we have an R value for a specific material, let's say, um, I don't know, any material, let's suppose that the R value is 25. And when we compare it with another material that the R value is, let's say, 10, then we can say that this material is a very good insulator in comparison to this material, which is not as a good insulator. So this is telling us that this is what you have to insulate uh, the walls or this is the material that you need to use to insulate your home so that the heat is kept into the house. When we are buying an insulator, what do we have to keep in mind? We have to look at the R value, and we have to aim for the highest R value possible, because the R value, what it is doing, it is measuring the insulator's ability to reduce the heat flow from the house to the environment. So when the R value R values are high, means that they are preventing a lot of heat going from your home into the um, environment. In your textbook on page 111, you will see R value for some of the materials that are used in our buildings, some building materials. So you will see that the 25 millimeters of airspace in wall cavities has an approximate R value of 2.04 in comparison with 0.25 millimeters of airspace with reflective surface inside of the wall cavity that has an R value of 5.54. So if you are looking at this, what do you notice is that the highest R value is the 25 millimeter of rigid foam, which has a value of 7.50. And this is what you will aim to buy in order to insulate your home. And it's the foam that you are using when you are installing the windows and doors, if you have had that opportunity to do so in your home or to see someone doing it in your home. So and if you can, because the materials that have high values, of course, they come with a higher price, because in the long run they will save you money into the heat bill. Then you will aim for the next one, which is 5.54. The way that we try to insulate our home is to fill the cavities with insulators. So you probably have noticed that if you go into your attic, which is a big cavity into your home, then you will notice that there is like a foam that it is there. The reason that that is there is, and it is in the best situation, is evenly distributed. It is preventing the convection current to escape from the attic. You need to insulate very well the attic, walls, floors, basement, especially basement floor, and um, all the other walls or windows and doors, of course, and walls that are, especially the ones that are uh, directly with the outside area. The way that the uh, insulator into the attic works is that the heat, the hot air that is into the house, it is as it is reaching the ceiling, it is coming back into the home, and the cold air that is above that insulation area, it is bounced back into the atmosphere. So this is why it is important about the cavities, things like attic or outside walls, to be very well insulated, because the process that is happening to keep the house warm and to keep the heat inside the house and to not allow the cold air to come in inside the house, is that they will act as a barrier so that the hot water, the hot air will come back into as soon as it is reaching the insulator will come back into the home, and the cold will not come inside the house. Another thing that we even mentioned it is windows and doors. Those are the two weak points in the house, and you will notice in those cold days here in Calgary, you touch the wall and probably it's not that cold, but when you go to the window, then it is cold. So the draft coming from uh, the the cold air coming from the window for two reasons: the insulation of the glass that the windows have is not the best. This is why probably triple panel is the best way to have better insulation, or the other reason is that installing the window and the doors, the outside one, the case of the windows and the doors, is not properly isolated with. The best way to do that is with foam. This concludes the 6.2, and then what I recommend you working on is check your understanding on your textbook on page 119 and go over those questions. So go to page 119 and complete the check your understanding.